The pitter-patter of raindrops echo on the boutique windows against the backdrop of heavy gray storm clouds. I let out a sigh as I lean my chin on my head, propping it up with my elbow on the counter, and stare out at the street for a moment. It's my first day of business, and instead of clear skies and sun, the weather outside is awful, dashing every hope of the grand opening I had in mind. With a pout, I glance down at my empty planner, which sits open on the counter, waiting to be filled with appointments, and I let out another defeated breath. Might as well find something to do instead of just mopping around. I head over and adjust the outfits on the mannequins, ensuring they're styled to perfection, which of course they already are. I've already dusted the shelves, wiped down the counters, and organized my sewing box. Today is really not turning out how I had hoped. I'm just about to wipe down the already pristine mirrors when a saving grace in the form of the bell above the door rings out through the shop. Immediately, I spin towards it, arms tucked in at my sides as my gaze snaps to the man who's just entered the store, raindrops dripping through his blonde hair and onto his shoulders. Good afternoon. My voice is bright and a stark contrast to the miserable weather outside, and my heart hums happily at the prospect of a new customer. Hello again. His deep voice holds an unmistakable sting of amusement, and it's only when he faces me head on that I recognize him. My shoulders slump in disappointment. Oh, it's you. I forgot he was coming over today. He seems to be quite drenched from the rain. He raises an eyebrow at my disappointment, at despondent greeting, and I give him an apologetic look. I didn't mean for it to come out the way it did, but I really had been looking forward to a new customer. You agreed to let me come by and pick up my things, remember? He says as he cocks his head, fixing me with a pointed look. I feel a little silly for forgetting, but shake it off with the wave of my hand. Of course, let's go to back. Hang on, wait a second. He hurries to stop me, stepping right up to the front of the counter just as I circle it. I wanted to talk to you before all that. Talk to me about what? A smile slips onto his lips. I get the feeling in the pit of my stomach that whatever it is, it can't be good. About renting your basement to me. I already said, I know you've already said no, and I respect that, but I'm asking if you might reconsider. Why do you want to use the basement so much? Can't you find somewhere else? He shrugs, that easy smile slipping back into place at once. I've grown fond of it. I'm sorry, the answer is still no, I say, tucking a lock of stray hair behind my ear. Shut down so fast. Nothing that could make you reconsider. He smoothly tries to bargain for the basement again. He doesn't look very convincing when he's soaked to the bone, though. I'd appreciate it if you didn't ask again. I stress my point. He huffs a breath, his shoulders slumping in defeat as he takes a step back. At least I tried, right? Guess I'll be grabbing all my things then and move out, he says with a grin. My eyes are immediately drawn to the rainwater dripping from his clothes and the wet patch pulling at his feet. When he follows my gaze, he notices it too and swears softly under his breath. I'm sorry, It's okay, I say quickly, already moving towards the door to the back. Wait here, I'll grab a towel for you to dry off with. Heading out to the back, I grab a couple of fluffy white towels before returning to the front of the shop, finding a man waiting idly for me. Here, this will help. Thanks. He takes the towel and I use the second towel to mop up the water from the floor. The towel certainly helps with the dripping, but it doesn't change the fact that he's soaked to the bone. And the last thing I need is for some random guy to catch his death in my store. Taking my bottom lip beneath my teeth, I think for a moment, it's really not my problem, but if he's going to be moving stuff from through my store, then I should at least make sure he doesn't drip all over the place. You should change into something dry, I suggest. I head over to flick through one of the menswear rack I've set up, looking for something about his size. I find an outfit easily enough, a shirt and trouser combo, and hand it over to him, gesturing towards the changing room. Are you sure? He says, quirking an eyebrow at me. It's not a handout. It's that what you're thinking. If that's what you're thinking, I say. I'm not about to give my stuff away for free. I'm not a charity. Fair enough, of course, no problem. With a grateful smile, he takes the items towards the changing room. It feels strange knowing that the first person ever to use my brand new fitting room is the random stranger who had illegally been using the basement in my building. But hey, it's better than nothing, I think. I put the damp towels aside while I wait for him to change, making a mental note to toss them in the laundry after the store closes. Nice eye, he says when he eventually emerges, rolling up the sleeves of his shirt and straightening everything out. The clothes fit like a glove. How much do I owe you for them? Well, we head over to the counter and I take his payment before putting his wet clothes in a bag for him to take home. I can't believe that he's my first customer for today, and it's only because he got caught in the rain and I basically forced these clothes upon him. The outfit looks great, by the way. His eyes flick around the store, taking in all its renovated glory. You know, it's a pretty cool thing you're doing here. Thanks, although I gesture around the empty store. You've been my first customer today. A shame, I tell you. I quite like what you've done here. Thank you. I feel like we should cut to the chase and let him get his things. There are a few empty boxes besides the back door. I can give you a hand if you like. Are you sure? I wouldn't want to pull you away from the line of customers waiting for you. I give him a dry look and he chuckles softly. I'd love your help, he answers quickly. I lock the boutique doors and the two of us head out the back, grabbing up a couple of bags each before heading down to the basement. He slips the key into the lock and pushes the door open, and for the first time I get a glimpse of what it's inside. It's not far from what I had expected at first glance. One large table takes up a majority of the space, with chairs going all around it. There's a makeshift bar, a couple of storage units, and a sofa in the back. So not only were you using the place illegally, but I suppose you were serving alcohol without a permit too. I question him as I head behind the bar, loading up the various bottles and tools into the box. It's a private establishment, no permit needed, he explains, scratching the side of his neck sheepishly. He opens up one of the cupboards to clear it out. I glance at the contents, noticing a few packs of cards, along with some colorful-looking chips. I suppose he was telling the truth about the board game thing after all. So what's the game you were playing in here again? I casually ask. He turns to me, scratching his cheeks. Dragon Den? You forgot the name? No, I'm just a little distracted. Is it hot in here, or is it just me? He asks, fanning his face. It is quite humid in the basement, I admit, exhaling a large breath. Usually basements are cold, but here it feels like the air is stagnant and hot. He pulls at the collar of his new shirts, then packs up some of the items lying around in the box. I help with the packing as well, and we each take a box up the stairs and into the boutique. We've only made it halfway through the store, however, when he stops suddenly and drops his box on the ground. He swears softly and pulls at his collar again with a grimace. I put my own box down and circle him, my eyebrows dipping as his fingers slip under the fabric and his nose crinkle unhappily. Is everything okay? Yeah, nothing to worry about. I eye him suspiciously, not quite believing that's true, but when he picks up the box again, I follow him out to the street, and we load them into the truck he has parked in front of the boutique. We've just stepped back into the boutique when he stops again, this time tugging at the hem of his shirt. Seriously, is there something wrong? I ask in exasperation, ignoring the dismissive hand he raises. It's fine, He scratches furiously around his collarbone, and when the fabric shifts, I see red patches of irritated skin developing beneath. Oh my god, your skin! It's okay, nothing to worry about. He wheezes and tries to pass it off with a wave, but I can clearly see he's agitated. You didn't wash the shirt with a very fragrant detergent before displaying it, did you? I washed all the fabrics in a lavender detergent first, but oh, it's getting worse. He unbuttons the front of his shirt and opens it, revealing red bumps on his collarbone. I'm allergic to most laundry detergent. They give me... His eyes widen when he faces the floor-length mirror, seeing the extent of the damage of his body. His nostrils flare in panic. Allergic? You should take it off, I say quickly, attempting to help him pull the shirt off over his shoulders. With a groan, he shrugs it off completely, and I toss it on the counter and out of the way, while he continues to stare at his reflection and scratch at the irritated patches of skin. I hide a gasp behind my hand and the sight of red raised splotches all down the front of his chest and abdomen. Oh my, it's completely spread in just a matter of minutes. Well, I can't agree more. You probably shouldn't, I warn him, but he's completely zoned off. He unbuttons the top of his pants next, shutting me up completely. Wait, he's going to strip? Of course he is. This is medical emergency. After stripping out of his trousers, he stands before me in only his underwear, while his legs haven't been hit as hard as his upper body. There are a few red splotches here and there. My skin warms as I try to focus on the severity of the situation rather than the fact that a handsome man is standing half naked in my shop. When Sarah joked that it was about time I had a naked man in my house, I really don't think this is what she had in mind. While attempting to keep my eyes from lingering where they shouldn't, I take a small step closer to inspect the marks on his skin. What is it? Some kind of allergic reaction? Hives, he manages to stutter, his eyes drifting back to the mirror. Laundry detergent gives me hives. I curse softly under my breath, knowing I have nothing in my first aid kit that will help much with that. Instead, I grab his still damp clothes from the bag they're in and attempt to hand them over, though he's not paying much attention to me, so I snap my fingers in front of him. There's a hospital nearby. We can go there, I say hurriedly. I dump the clothes in his arms and take my hand back from beneath the counter, making sure I have my cell phone and keys. While he stands there being useless, I also find a large umbrella before instructing him to put his wet clothes back on and start moving. Come on, let's go. Upon seeing my companion's condition, the receptionist asked him to quickly fill out some details and calls a nurse who helps us through to seek one of the doctors right away, much to the relief of the both of us. The doctor greets us as we enter the room and introduces herself as Dr. Hansen. Her lips purse a little as she reads the form the nurse has given her, and once she puts the clipboard down, she indicates for him to take a seat on the examination bed. The plastic crinkles beneath him as he sits. I busy myself with sitting in one of the guest chairs and setting my handbag down beside me. Well, what do we have here? Mr. Gray Jansen, breaking out into hives. Doesn't seem to be your lucky day, the doctor says. I freeze, my blood running cold in my veins, chilling me down to the bone. What name did she just say? Remove your shirt, please, Mr. Jansen. I'll need to take a closer look at the severity of the situation, Dr. Hansen instructs, pulling on a pair of plastic gloves while she waits for him to do as she does. She asks, while she inspects the hives on his skin, I stay as still as a stone, a chill running down the back of my neck and all the way down my spine. Gray? It's funny how I never thought to ask for his name before, and now that I've heard it, the crushing realization dawns on me. But he's not. He couldn't be. You're lucky you have such a caring girlfriend to immediately take you to the hospital. Even though hives aren't very life-threatening, the doctor chuckles. Her voice snaps me out of my thoughts, and my stomach tightens at her implication. Oh, I'm not. Yes, I'm incredibly lucky, Grace says, his eyes pinning me to the spot in a way that has me sealing my lips tight. I'd known there was something familiar about him when we first met, hadn't I? Maybe I simply didn't want to see it. I'm going to prescribe you some medicine to take over the next few days. You can collect it from the pharmacy next door on your way out, Dr. Hansen says. I watch silently as Dr. Hansen gives Gray a piece of paper, but I don't hear anything that happens next over the sound of my heart thundering in my ears. The man I've been with this whole time, who I've led into my shop right beneath my house at home, and who has repeatedly asked to rent out my basement, is none other than my former rival, the Phantom. My eyes trail over him from head to toe, trying desperately to figure out why I didn't recognize him before. His hair has changed, that's the biggest difference, and he has piercing in places he never had before. Or maybe he's always had them, but they were well hidden. Well, I gotta go pick up my meds, and then maybe I can stop scratching like I'm infested with fleas. Shall we head back? When he speaks to me, I'm still in a state of shock, unable to say a word. I quickly realize that the appointment is over, and I fumble to pick up my handbag from beside me. Is everything okay? I manage to nod as I get to my feet, but still he raises an eyebrow, giving me an inquisitive look. Yeah, I croak. Let's go. After picking up his prescription at the pharmacy, Gray immediately pops in one of the pills. It's still raining when we step outside. Hopefully this will keep it from spreading, he murmurs. I don't say anything, as I'm still reeling over the fact that I've met the guy that I kicked out of school 10 years ago. I let him take the umbrella, shielding us from the rain while we head back to the boutique. We make small talk as we walk, commenting on the weather, the city, the doctor's office, but I can't stop mulling over everything in my head. Has he recognized me too? He hasn't said anything that would suggest He has, but I can't be sure that it's not an act. He was, he is the phantom, after all. Well, here we are. His voice snaps me out of my thoughts, and I realize we are standing in front of the boutique. Cree runs a hand over the back of his neck and gives me a sheepish look. I'm sorry I freaked out earlier about the hypes. I haven't had a breakout since I was a teenager. It brought back some pretty rough memories. I like seeing a different side of you, I say before I can stop myself, but immediately I know it's the truth. He gives me a grateful smile, as though he's relieved I haven't called him out of his behavior, and I stroll to meet his eyes. To be fair, I'd rather be showing you my other good sides instead, he confessed, not the panicked one. I force a smile at him. That's alright, your skin does look gnarly, and it would scare me too. And in an effort to distract myself, I dig through my handbag for the keys to the shop. I've just inserted them into a lock when a thought hits me, and I turn back to him suddenly. Gray, I speak his name for the first time, and when his eyes meet mine, I still can't believe I never recognized him. I feel now as though I should have recognized those eyes anywhere. Why didn't you tell the doctor I wasn't your girlfriend? He gives me a cryptic grin, as though he sees something behind my words that I never intended, because it wasn't any of our business. Oh, our eyes lock, and a memory floods back to the surface of my mind of a night long ago. One of him in his one of him in handcuffs as a teenager, being forced into the back of a patrol car, and the consequences that came after. He had been expelled from the couple high after that incident and ended up with a pretty nasty criminal record due to the knife they had found on him. I can't stop the guilt that gnaws at me inside, knowing I was the one who had called the police there in the first place, knowing that the whole thing had been my fault. An overwhelming sense of guilt settled in the pit of my stomach. I had left it all behind, but I can't change the past. I did screw up his school life by getting him arrested. I have to make amends for what I've done, and at the moment, only one thing comes to mind. Before I have a chance to overthink it, I reveal my idea to Gray. About the basement, I've changed my mind. I'll rent it out for you. His face lights up in an instant, an overjoyed smile curving his lips. It immediately lessens the weight hanging over my shoulders. Really? Yes, really. I chuckle at his reaction, finding it cute how excited he seems to be have his board game space back again. He stops and cocks an eyebrow at me, his lips pulling into a tight line that makes a thread of worry worm itself through my stomach. What made you change your mind? You don't seem so bad after all. With a chuckle, he nods his head at me, accepting the excuse, and I invite him inside the shop once more. We settled on an acceptable price for the rent, and I agreed to draw up a contract for him to sign the next time he's here. I never got your name, by the way, he says, and I realize that's true. He has absolutely no idea what my name is. He has absolutely no idea I'm the girl who ruined his youth. And now he promised to draw up a contract to cement the fact he'll be working out of my building. Stupid conscience. Is it too late to change my mind a second time? After all, the numerous nefarious rumors involving the Phantom back in high school are seared into my memory. What would he do if he found out about our past history? What exactly is he capable of? Calm down, I tell myself. I know how much I've changed in the past decade. He probably has too. I should give him the benefit of the doubt. I owe him at least this much. Even so, I attempt to give him a fake name. I don't want to risk him connecting the dots back to our past. Not before I know I can trust him with that information. I'm not about to make an enemy out of my new renter. But then again, he might have already spotted my real name on a business card in the boutique. I bite down my bottom lip and hesitantly begin to speak. It's Hazel, I say cautiously. Even if he does remember me, at the very least, he won't be able to connect me to Angel. Thank you, Hazel. You've already made the hives worth it, he jokes, not showing any indication he recognizes the name. I almost breathe out a sigh of relief. I don't even want to imagine what he might do if he knew it was me who ruined his life. It should be an easy enough secret to keep, seeing as how I broke off contact with anyone from the gang except for Sarah. I hope I can count on her to stay cordial around him, especially considering that the Phantom allegedly sent her cousin to the hospital. With any luck, she'll avoid him completely, or at the very least, too mindful of what she says around him. I'll be seeing you then, Grace says as he twirls the keys I've returned to him around his fingers. One for the back door of the building and the other for the basement. Yeah, I'll see you soon, I say with a nod, watching him head for the door, giving me a last wave before he goes through it and disappears from sight. As soon as he's gone, I alert my phone and hit Sarah's number in my recent contacts, my hands shaking as I hold the device to my ear and wait for her to answer. It doesn't take long before her familiar voice greets me through the phone. Hey, how did your first day go? Sarah, I shriek into the receiver, ignoring her unhappy groan at my outburst. You'll never believe it, but the guy who wanted to rent out my basement, that's Grey Jansen. What? Her disbelief is clear from her tone alone, and I'm glad to find she's just as shocked as I am. How did we not recognize him? I don't know. He looks different. I couldn't believe it either. Sarah lets out a string of curses, and I take a deep breath, mentally preparing myself to tell her the other bit of news. News I'm sure she won't be happy to hear in the least. There's one other thing. What is it? I hesitate only a moment before speaking, letting the weight of my agreement finally sink in. I agreed to lend out my basement to him,